piece of business, surely, as Howard Wilkinson done all summer. If Rush does come off, he could be a truly great asset for Leeds as they try to rebuild. Kelly with the resultant throw-in. Comes down onto Rush's chest. Right-footed volley, which skims through and gathers pace off the turf, but is still comfortably dealt with by Kevin Preston.
It's amazing. Ian Rush, new club, same style. I always said that Liverpool, he started their defensive qualities off. He set the motion, and everybody followed him. And there again, we see him tackling Ian Nolan to start defensively for Leeds.
Hearts in possession for Leeds, having to backtrack towards his own penalty area under pressure from a striker who's right at the other end of his career, young Rishi Humphries, who scored a belting goal against Villa at Hillsborough on Saturday. He's only 18 years old, won't be 19 until November, born in Sheffield, playing for the club he loves and loving the chance he's been given by David Pleat. Wednesday's throw-in, turned infield towards Pembridge on the end of the centre circle. Now Reggie Blinker, instantly recognisable in those dreadlocks. Nolan's overlapping from left full-back. Left-footed ball towards the near post, but Nigel Martin with a hop, skip and a jump can see it through into the Leeds supporters behind.
I think that we see how quickly that both full-backs, Atherton and Nolan, are prepared to join the attack for Sheffield Wednesday. On that occasion, Ian Nolan, I watched him a lot for Tranmere Rovers, and he played right and left side, but I always feel that when he plays on the left side, he loses a bit of his threat because his strongest foot is his right foot. So we saw there he was in a great opportunity to cross the ball, and unfortunately his final pass was poor.
We've become used to thinking in recent months that fullbacks really only overlap an attack as a result of five at the back, the three big central defenders, but David Pleat has stuck with what used to be the orthodox four, and Nolan on one side, Atherton on the other, still have licence to go forward. Stefanovic with a long free kick from the centre circle, dealt with on the edge of his own box for Leeds by Mark Ford, and lumped into touch on the far side for a Wednesday throw-in, forward for which, following Brian Hamilton's words, comes Peter Atherton. The right full-back, big fella, hurls it towards the near post. Getting up well is Radaby, comes back to Atherton, who deals with it well on his chest. Turns it back into the instep of Des Walker. He lifts a right-footed ball into the box. Whittingham brings it down nicely on his chest. Radaby goes across to put the pressure on, and Whittingham turns it behind for what Leeds fans hoped would be a goal kick, but it was right beneath the eye of a linesman, a quick-witted linesman, who has decided that Wednesday instead will have a corner, over for which Mark Pembridge goes. Ginger-haired Welshman, named in Bobby Gould's most recent squad to face San Marino on Saturday week. A squad in which Ian Rush's name doesn't appear. Pembridge with the left-footed ball towards the back post. Headed goalwards by Whittingham. Good save. It is far post by Nigel Martin, sprawling across as Whittingham got good purchase on a downward header. And Martin has twice intervened for Leeds at critical times. And there is a player down injured as Leeds came away. It's Mark Ford, I think. Is it Ford? No, it's not. It's Bowyer. Bowyer, the teenager. It looked as though he took an elbow. What did you spot, Brian?
Well, I was too busy watching Whittingham's reaction to the header because he got right up. It was poor marking by Leeds in the box. He got a clean header on goal, and the ball was blocked right on the line. The referee was well placed. He was only 2 yards from the incident. He immediately waved play on, and Guy Whittingham wasn't too happy. But when the ball was cleared, Leeds players tried to go up to support Ian Rush. I think he was left up front, and all of a sudden Bowyer was left on the ground, so he doesn't look too happy at all.
Alan Sutton's down there, the trusty Leeds physiotherapist who's been here for years and years and years, and he's just done the business with the sponge. It may have been Humphries with whom Bowyer clashed. He looked somewhat disenchanted by the whole state of affairs, but he watches now as Leeds break, and going back to cover well is Wayne Collins, the midfielder Sheffield Wednesday have recently bought from Crewe. Collins got the ball back to his goalkeeper Pressman, whose partial clearance comes down on Rush's instep. Pembridge goes in and nicks it away from him, plays it up to the halfway line. It's held up well there by Humphries. Now Booth gets his first significant touch of the game, and then Reggie Blinker just inside the Leeds half. Forward again for Humphries. He is snapped at. Kelly gets in a sliding tackle, which cannons back off Nolan's shin and goes into touch for a throw-in. And the early moments of the game suggest that the rain that came just before kick-off is already having an impact, because they're slipping and sliding all over the place on what must previously have been a fairly hard surface. So it's tantamount to something only just milder than an ice rink out there, and the players are finding it hard early on, Brian, to keep their feet.
Yes, there's some very slick play going on out there, and Sheffield Wednesday have settled very quickly. They look very confident, very composed. Every player wanting the ball, and they've had two great chances. Leeds have taken an extra minute to settle, and Howard Wilkinson will be looking for someone to put his foot in the ball, as Gary McAllister did so many times last year for him, and let the team settle.
7 minutes played. Five Lives Tuesday match from Ellen Road. 0-0. Sharp for Leeds United. Comes in field from the left corner of the penalty area. In goes Pembridge to bring it away from Ford as he tried to profit from Sharp's square ball. And Pembridge has tackled well twice on the edge of his own box in the first 7 minutes of the game. Leeds United 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0. We're keeping you in touch also with games in the UEFA Cup involving Scottish and Welsh teams, Celtic, Aberdeen, Barry Town all playing this evening, and also bags and bags of games in the English Coca-Cola Cup. Here's Nolan for Sheffield Wednesday, 20 yards out. Square of him was Pembridge. In went Sharp to tackle. Blinker picks up the loose ball. Left-footed ball in. Could come to Pembridge. Drives it in. He's blocked by two Leeds shirts. He's played wide again for Blinker. Blinker crosses. And though the ball cannons rather dangerously off a Leeds defender and against the post, it would have counted for naught because the flag's up on the far side.
I think Leeds can count themselves very lucky that they're not at least one goal down. Sheffield Wednesday very slick, some great passing, and they're coming at them from both sides. Down the right-hand side with Whittingham and Atherton, and Nolan and Blinker down this left-hand side. Nolan very like Kelly in his approach to the game. Good control, wants to get forward, and we saw a great little tussle between Kelly and Nolan there, which Nolan came out just slightly on top.
Martin's long free kick, headed back by Nolan, lifted forward again for Leeds by Ford. Nolan's going to have to retreat towards his own penalty area. He's under pressure from Haitley. Rush will put more pressure on Pressman, who does well to effect a left-footed clearance. Taken down one on his chest, I thought, by Booth in the centre circle. The referee was much closer, though, and about a third of the Leeds crowd concurred with his view that Booth had handled it. So Leeds have a free kick, which they've spread wide to the far side, and Hart, he slipped as he tried to effect a left-footed cross, and it breaks for Radaby on the halfway line. Right-footed ball forward from him towards the edge of the box. Rush nods on, Haitley chases, Pressman comes, and Pressman was always favourite to gather first, and Haitley really hasn't been introduced to the game in any meaningful way so far. What did you think when you read that Haitley had joined Leeds on loan?
Well, it's a fresh base, and he's got a lot of experience, and the worry, of course, is that they're both very experienced and both want to really play off one another, and maybe Haitley more as the ball winner. Rush is looking to play off Haitley, but we saw there when the ball was played, a superb ball played by Radaby, that it was Rush who had pulled wide for the header and Haitley trying to get in. I'm not sure that's the right way round, but I think it's fresh, and I think that Haitley can only get better. I'm sure they played that at the start of the game, and he believes that.
Mark Haitley, whose last goal at Ellen Road was for Rangers against Leeds 4 years ago, very nearly. It was the goal which underlined the fact that Leeds were going out of that year's European Cup. Seems a long, long time ago. McCoy's also scored that night, a very different feeling than this one here now. Sharp goes in for Leeds. Radaby tries to go in to support him, and does well, does Radaby. He's picked out Sharp, but in so doing, the linesman, who was very close to the incident, considered that he went in over hard, and actually the ball had got into touch. So Sheffield Wednesday have a throw in, which they've lumped forward via their right fullback Atherton. Blinker's chasing now, left side, middle third of the field, wearing 11, the Dutchman, born in Suriname, as so many of their great stars seem to be. Pullet, to mention but one. Nolan now with a right-footed searching ball towards the far side. Whittingham is competed well against by Hart, and Hart gets in a good clearance. Whittingham goes down as a result of it, and is still clutching his upper leg rather tenderly, but he is up and prepared to continue now. Ball's into touch again on this near side for a Leeds throw in, and Gary Kelly wants to take it, but he won't take it until he's received instructions from the bench. Howard Wilkinson's having a word, only 10-12 yards away. Mick Hennigan, his trusty henchman's there as well, bellowing as only Mick Hennigan can. Haitley heads in field from the near touchline, the Leeds right. Didn't get any leverage on his header though. Wednesday get it away. Radaby meets it on the halfway line. Left-footed ball forward. Now Rush can chase. Rush is onside, but Nolan's there before him. Nolan intervenes well there, lifts a leg over the ball and finds a yard of space to effect a partial clearance as far as Gary Kelly. Jinking this way and that. Right side of the penalty area. Two defenders between him and the box. Pembridge is one of those. Pembridge gets in well. Nolan was there also. And between them, they not only cut the ball away from Kelly, but also prevented it from going out for a corner and completed a clearance with which Radaby and Palmer are laboriously dealing. But in the event, tidily dealing. Palmer eventually heading back to Martin.
I think if we're going to measure the two strikers so far, Mark Hitley and Rush, I think Ian Rush has certainly started off with a better effect. He seems to be more available, and Mark Hitley, although he's covering the ground and looking for the ball, it just doesn't seem to be coming his way at the moment.
It's raining in Leeds, which is a blessing, frankly, because it's been one of those hideously close days, and boy, we need some refreshment. But it's bucketing down now, which isn't necessarily making life easier for the players in terms of the purchase they get on the ground. Although I suspect, Brian, even they might not be too sorry that the temperature's dipped a degree or two.
No, I think the pitch looks superb, and I think that bit of water in the top of it actually helps the play. It makes the ball move easier, and it certainly makes for a more exciting game.
Well, Booth's ball down the inside left channel for Blinker to chase was overplayed, and again may have gathered pace on that slippery surface, and now it really is coming down. Absolute stair rods caught in the floodlights. It looks rather spectacular, and they will be getting very, very wet. You're getting wet, we're not. Rush, edge of the centre circle. Sharp joins him, and now a burst of pace from Sharp, away from the defender who's Atherton. Atherton made up the yard of pace that Sharp had on him really well, and got a semi-clearance out towards the far side via Sharp's ankle, and we heard the first clap of thunder. Oh, this is going to be a bit of fun.
Well, it's turned out that way now. To be honest with you, I've never seen rain as heavy for a long, long time, and it's been threatening because it's been so close and so humid, and I think that certainly it'll take a little bit of that out of the air, but at this moment in time, I don't think it's helping the players at all.
Do these microphones conduct lightning, do you think, Brian? We have to fill in forms to do things like this for the BBC, you know. This is considered dangerous, I'm sure. Blinker, halfway line, inside left channel, try to get it forward to Humphreys, didn't reach his destination, given away by Bowyer. Blinker again, edge of the penalty area, now Humphreys, left-footed shot, beyond Martin, 2-0, 2 goals at the start of the season for young Richie Humphreys, the first of the night at Ellen Road. It's a dream come true for this young Sheffield-born striker, and Sheffield Wednesday lead by a goal to 0. Bowyer having given away possession in the first instance, and Humphreys having capitalised on it to the best degree. It's Wednesday 1, Leeds 0.
And it's not surprising because Sheffield Wednesday have started the best. They've been very positive, and that is possibly their fourth chance. They've been very unlucky not to have more goals, because I thought that Leeds have defended quite poorly on that occasion. They give the ball away. They had a chance to clear it, and Leeds made them pay.
Found Rush, who's onside in the other box. Rush hits the post. He was all on his own on the penalty spot. Pressman was rooted to the spot, and Rush belted it against the post. And you sort of feel that if his shirt had been red, that would have gone in. Rush never misses from there. He never misses from there. 99 times out of 100 it would have been 1-1.
No, that was a miss, and I am a bit surprised actually he was allowed to go on, for he looked offside. The linesman kept his flag down, much to the surprise of the Sheffield Wednesday defenders, and I think it might have surprised Ian Rush a little bit as well. Saying that, it was on his right foot, which is not really his favourite foot, and he missed a chance from 8 or 9 yards. As you say, that was an easy chance for Ian Rush, and he's just blown it. But it's not going just right for Leeds at the moment. For Sheffield Wednesday it is, and that's football, I suppose.
Sheffield Wednesday, well, it's very early to say, we're a quarter of an hour into the game, but they're having a very, very good start to the season. They beat Aston Villa on Saturday. They were unfancied by most before the campaign began. They would have considered Villa to be a really testing start, and Leeds away is not an easy fixture for them either, and they've begun it very, very impressively. And this fella Humphreys could develop into one of the stories of the autumn come winter. Rush, who's been the subject of a few magnificent stories himself over the years, at the moment it's not breaking for him.
No, it's not, and there's a bit of dissent is actually setting among the supporters. They're wanting a little bit more from them, and they've got to be disappointed with this start because they've got a lot of talent and show it, a lot of razzmatazz to build the season off. The first home game, and you're so desperate to do well in that first match. Sheffield Wednesday look very comfortable, very confident, and Leeds don't look that at all. So at the moment, it's Sheffield Wednesday very much on top.
Rush trying to atone for his previous miss. He will always work for the side. That's something of which you can be sure. But he didn't win possession now. He's having to re-chase it. Nolan in possession on this near side, but he lets the ball run under his feet. Leeds have a throw-in, which Rush wants to take quickly. Bowyer's coming over to volunteer to take it instead. In the end, Rush leaves it to Kelly, who comes forward from right back, wearing 2. Blinkers in front of him. Rush peels away. Turn back to Jobson on the halfway line. Now Kelly again, and Kelly allows it to run over the line. It's all very untidy. Right down in front of us, it's probably a drop of 30 yards. We could drop our microphones very nearly on Ian Nolan's head, the former Tranmere number 3 full-back, who likes to attack but at the moment is interested in events inside his own half. Turns it back to Kevin Pressman, his goalkeeper, who clears long and left-footed, headed through by Booth towards Humphreys, who's hungry now. Whittingham gets a touch, then Reggie Blinker. Wednesday really believing in themselves. Left-footed ball towards the edge of the box, headed away as far as Whittingham again, wearing 7. Whittingham taking on Radamy, slips on the slippery turf, turns it wide, right-footed across from Atherton. Pembridge goes up, but not high enough. He's a smallish man, and he couldn't get up high enough to get downward power on the header. It slides off his ginger locks and goes behind for a goal kick.
Leeds got to be concerned. I mean, that's so many times now that the ball has come in and there's been 3 men in the box. Poor marking by the Leeds back 3, and sometimes that happens when you get 3 defenders and 2 forwards. The defenders are inclined to mark space, and players get in between them. On this occasion, well, certainly so far, they haven't looked very comfortable at the back at all. And I think this is where they're missing a player of McAllister's calibre who can put his foot in the ball and keep control of the game.
Humphreys for Wednesday. Slid out of it on the far side by Carlton Palmer. Will be dashing around their other venues very shortly, but Sheffield Wednesday have a corner at the furthest part of the pitch from us, over for which Mark Pembridge, the Welsh international, is going, wearing 4 and looking sopping wet, as they all are. The rain has abated, at least for the moment. Sheffield Wednesday lead by 1-0, and they deserve to. They have this flag kick on the far side. Pembridge up to it now, left-footed towards the far post. Up went Whittingham, and again it slid off his head and went behind for a goal kick. So in the still pouring rain, though pouring a little less hard, it remains 1-0 for Sheffield Wednesday at Ellen Road.
Back to Ellen Road in a moment, but to our other games. Bolton and Manchester City in the First Division. Jimmy Armfield.
Bolton 0, Manchester City 0. Typical derby this. Bolton the more direct, using the long ball. City passing through midfield. Clough's in there. They've got a more composed look about them. Both teams have had a chance. On 4 minutes, Rosler brought a magnificent save from Keith Brannigan. Said he should have gone in front then. 13 minutes for Bolton. Blake completely put through by Sellers. Completely miskicked. They did follow up and score, but he was offside. Not a bad game this. 90 minutes gone now. Bolton 0, Manchester City 0.
Into the UEFA Cup. Celtic and Košice of Slovakia. Goalless after the first leg. Roddy Forsyth.
Still goalless. I don't know if we need thunder to clear the air here, but a Celtic goal would go down very well with this biggest crowd in Britain tonight. 47,000 people watching a Košice team surprising everybody by their elegance on the ball and their pace on the break. Nearest thing for Celtic, Van Hooijdonk shooting just past a few seconds ago.
At Pataudry, Aberdeen started with a 4-1 lead over Žalgiris Vilnius of Lithuania. Andy Gillies.
They still have that lead. Aberdeen 0, Vilnius 0, but the locals are restless. Aberdeen with just one really good chance, a Winders header pushed past the post. And for Vilnius, 3 good opportunities. They're attacking on the break and causing Aberdeen a few collywobbles. Aberdeen 0, Vilnius 0.
And no goals, Barry Town and Budapest Vos Ustosh, so the Hungarians still 3-1 up. Into the Coca-Cola Cup in England, first round, first leg. At the county ground, Swindon and Wolves, Steve Tongue.
0-0, but very lively, couple of chances each. And Ewan Roberts is winning a lot in the air for Wolves, despite playing with a huge white bandage on his head. They're still without Keith Curl, by the way, in defence. He's injured. Swindon 0, Wolves 0.
Rob Bonnet's at the Manor Ground, Oxford and Norwich.
No scores so far, the game warming up quite nicely. The best chance for falling so far to Oxford. A shot from Massey, which Brian Gunn, the Norwich keeper, managed to parry, but only as far as Ulrich, who had a couple of stabs at the ball before shooting wide. The Norwich themselves look impressive when Keith O'Neill gets the ball wide on the left. Their best chance, a Johnson header, which was from an Eadie cross. It went just over the bar. No score.
Other scores: Colchester 1, West Brom 0, Darlington 1, Rotherham 0, Exeter 0, Barnet 1, Hartlepool 0, Lincoln 1, Huddersfield 1, Wrexham 0, Hull 0, Scarborough 1, Portsmouth 1, Leyton Orient 0, Scunthorpe 2, Blackpool 1, Sheffield United 1, Bradford 0, Southend 0, Fulham 1, Stockport 1, Chesterfield 0, and Wigan 1, Preston 1. So back to Ellen Road and Peter Drury.
And if the natives at Aberdeen are restless, then the natives here are at best very, very quiet, because Leeds don't have a 4-0 first leg lead on which to rely. They are not looking a cogent force at all. Sheffield Wednesday, on the other hand, are, and still lead by Richie Humphreys' goal to nil. Very well taken goal in slippery conditions. The rain started to come down harder again. It's almost like a kind of Christmas postcard, because the rain against the floodlights looks kind of snowy, sleety white, and it's making life sometimes very tricky for those who like the ball at their feet.
Well, a lot of simple mistakes being made because of the wet, and most of them being made by the Leeds players. Certainly Sheffield Wednesday have started off very brightly, certainly deserved their 1-0 lead, maybe even more. And Leeds really need a presence on the pitch, somebody to really encourage standing the ball and make people, bringing people into play. At this moment in time, there doesn't look to be a player out there who can do that.
Kelly with a free kick for Leeds. 2.5, 3 yards in from the near touchline. Leeds right, and midway inside the Wednesday half. All in white. Kelly right-footed towards the back post. Jobson gets up well, but it slides off the top of his head, and Whittingham will be able to clear from his own byline. Only as far as Radaby, still inside the Wednesday half. Wearing 5, the South African. Left-footed ball towards the edge of the box. Hately will climb and nod down, but Nolan's all on his own left side of his penalty area to hoof it left-footed up towards halfway, where Palmer meets with a downward header, but it's broken for Blinker on this near side. If he can keep it in, it's dangerous. He does keep it in well. Comes away from Kelly, who's battling in muscular fashion, and does well to put the Dutchman off his stride momentarily, and as a result Leeds threaten to break, only for the ball to come back Nolan's way and then run into touch for a Sheffield Wednesday throw-in. Midway point of the first half. Rain's got away again, but John Champion's coming back and will take you to half-time.
It just strikes me, Brian, that one of the more unfortunate qualities of Leeds' pristine all-white kit is that when it gets wet, it's see-through, which perhaps explains the excitement of certain young ladies in the crowd below us. Now, it's 1-0 to Wednesday. Humphreys, the goal scorer, with a driven left-foot shot that just crept inside the post. Maybe Nigel Martin just got his fingertips to it. But Marco van Basten, having watched Richie Humphreys on a pre-season tour of Holland just a couple of weeks ago, said he was one of the best young players he'd ever seen. This is Nolan with a cross towards the back post, headed infield by Dejan Stefanovic, but straight into the waiting arms of Nigel Martin. Apparently he played in a friendly in Utrecht and scored a dazzling goal, even better than either this one or the spectacular volley he got against Villa on Saturday. So he's obviously a man of rich potential, just 18 3/4 years of age. This is Gary Kelly for Leeds, approaching the right edge of the penalty area. Nolan goes with him, slides in. Kelly is convinced he's won a corner, and now turns disbelievingly to the linesman, who, like the referee, is dressed in a black and red striped shirt. Looks very odd indeed, really. He should be with Cliff Lazarenko and company, I think, rather than Howard Wilkinson and co. But the outcome, anyway, humour and birth aside, is a goal kick to Sheffield Wednesday, who are controlling this fairly nicely so far, Brian.
Well, they've done very well. I think one of the things you do when you come to play away, certainly in front of quite a hostile crowd as Leeds can be, is to quieten them. And Sheffield Wednesday have taken the game by the scruff of the neck, and they've certainly done that. They've created the chances, and they look very, very comfortable.
And on Tuesday, it's Wednesday who lead 1-0 against Leeds here at Elland Road. This is our Tuesday match on BBC 5 Live. No significant goal action in the other league fixtures, notably Bolton against Manchester City in the First Division. We'll run down the latest Coca-Cola Cup scores as and when the goals go in. And no more goals this evening in the UEFA Cup ties in the qualifying round second leg. Kelly Forward towards the balding figure of Haitley. Haitley misses it. It'll fall on the edge of the penalty area for the shot that came in from Lee Bowyer, clipped the top of the bar and bounced out to safety.
It was a good cross by Kelly, and Sheffield Wednesday were caught. Two defenders against three Leeds attackers, and Bowyer got good control of the ball. I thought he picked the spot very well, and that was a really good effort. Just clipped the bar as it went over.
So Rush, with a shot from which he should surely have scored 8 yards out, has hit the post. And Lee Bowyer, another of the new Leeds recruits, they've spent nearly £10 million in the close season. Lee Bowyer has now clipped the top of the Sheffield Wednesday crossbar. He was instrumental in his Charlton days in knocking Wednesday out of the cup last season. Rush with a header on the edge of the Wednesday box away to our right. He's penalised for backing into Ian Nolan. Rush, who looks precisely as lean as he ever has done, now 34 years old and wearing the captain's armband, but significantly in white, not red. It was very strange. You, as a man that lives in the northwest, would appreciate this, to go to Anfield last night and see someone else wearing the red number 9 shirt.
Well, it's certainly, he's a legend there, and he's been a great player for Liverpool. If he plays half as well for Leeds, then they've got a very good deal this summer. He's a very good shape for a player, very lean, very fit, and certainly, from what we've seen so far, has lost none of his attitude for the game.
Leeds 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1 in this West versus South Yorkshire derby. Leeds managed by Howard Wilkinson, who brought a modicum of success to Wednesday in the mid-80s. Sheffield Wednesday under the tutelage now of David Pleat, and also significantly he's added the former Chelsea number 2 Peter Shreves to the coaching staff this season to strengthen that. Kelly down this right-hand side for Haitley to chase on this wet turf. The ball skips on though, lands in a puddle, bounces against a low concrete perimeter wall, and it's out for a goal kick again. The combined age of the Leeds strike force tonight is 68.
Makes me feel good, John.
You ought to be out there, really. Man of your mobility.
I think
and guile, that's the word, isn't it? Guile.
Is that the word we're looking for? Actually, interesting. I was looking forward to see how Walker and Rush, their confrontation, how they did, because both very talented, both very quick, both very experienced. At this moment, Des Walker just slightly on front.
Well, Pressman just made a bit of a hash of a back pass. He didn't get the clearance away, nor was Stefanovic cleared with any conviction, but Stefanovic was fouled by Ian Rush as he tried to get the ball away 10 yards outside the edge of his own box. And the outcome is going to be a free kick to Sheffield Wednesday, who in their blue and white vertically striped shirts, blue shorts and blue stockings with white trim, are more than holding their own and lead through Richie Humphreys' goal scored after 13 minutes, despite the fact that Leeds have twice struck the frame of the goal away to our right. Leeds playing from left to right, defending what was the Kop end and is now the Don Revie stand away to our far left. There are empty seats in there, as there are in the Giant East stand, one of the largest cantilever structures in the world, directly opposite us, which is shrouded in a veil of rain at the moment. It's a distinctly unpleasant evening. It's been a fairly unpleasant day because of the mugginess in this part of Yorkshire, but now it's giving way to heavy precipitation as Wednesday move forward once again, and Richie Humphreys rises, heads the ball down, looks for Booth. Lee Bowyer clears it, but only as far as Whittingham, who now turns it forward again. No one's picked up Humphreys. Fortunately for Leeds, Martin is out quickly.
I think this is where Leeds will have to be very careful. I think their marking at the back has been very poor, and we've seen the Sheffield Wednesday strike force of Humphreys and Booth both free and had chances, so there certainly will have to be better marking in there.
Mark Haitley may not have done anything yet in terms of a positive contribution, but at least he's lasted longer now than Lee Chapman did when he, as a 30-something, made his on-loan debut for Leeds back in January against West Ham. This is Gary Kelly. Marauding, rampaging run down the right-hand side. In slides Nolan with the tackle, and out slides Gary Kelly a full 6 or 7 yards after he hit the turf. So wet is the playing surface now. There is water coming up around and above some of the players' boots. So a throw into Leeds. 5-6 yards from this right-hand corner flag, near side of the field to us. The aerial battalions are forward, notably Richard Jobson and Haitley, but that's a distinctly poor throw and is headed directly out of play by Andy Booth, who's on guard duty adjacent to the near post. This time Kelly can almost touch the corner flag as he takes the throw, which is short to Lee Sharp. He had the orange boots. Now Kelly wide on this right-hand side. The cross takes a slight deflection. It's a real teaser for Pressman, and it needed the header behind from Atherton for a corner on the far side.
Yes, Leeds need to do more of this. Kelly, great run up field. He must have covered 40 yards before he was tackled, and he's keeping the pressure on by putting in a great cross there. It's lifted the crowd, and at the moment, the Leeds players must do this to bring the crowd with them.
There are 5 white-shirted players in the box and 2 just outside. It's Lee Sharp from the far side, half an hour gone, towards Radaby, headed clear by Atherton. Powerfully as well, the clearance actually makes the halfway line, all but a yard, and goes out of play by some giant speakers that were assaulting our eardrums in the pre-match entertainment not half an hour ago. 5 Live from BBC Radio, coming to you live from Elland Road this evening, this Tuesday match, Leeds 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1. And already we've had more entertainment in this game than we have in our last 2 commentaries combined. Southampton against their opponents Chelsea on Sunday, which was fairly drab, and then Liverpool against Arsenal last night, which, although we had a couple of goals, was nothing to shout about and nothing to remember for too long. Brian Hamilton was at that game, and such is the life of an international manager. He's at this game, although I have to inform you, Brian, that Nigel Worthington's left. So who are you watching?
Well, I'm watching everybody. I'm hoping there's an Irish granny out there. No, it's just interesting to see how our teams play. I knew Leeds were playing with 3 at the back. To see how Sheffield Wednesday would play with a 4 at the back against them.
Haitley closes down quickly on Nolan, goes sliding a few yards past his intended target, which was the ball, and past Nolan as well. And it's now spinning around in centre field with Gary Kelly, who gives it straight to the dreadlocks Reggie Blinker. Now, there's been a goal at the Manor Ground in the Coca-Cola Cup fixture between Oxford and Norwich, so let's join Rob Bonnet.
There's been more than 1 goal, John. There's been 2. The first went to Norwich, a goal from Johnson, flicking the ball over Whitehead, the Oxford keeper, after a pass from Fleck. That's something against the run of play, and so it proved a minute later a goal from Nigel Jemson after a cross from the right from Ford. 1-1.
2 in 2 games for new signing Nigel Jemson. 31 minutes gone. Leeds 0. Sheffield Wednesday 1. I get berated by my co-commentator for giving details on an Oxford score. Believe you me, if Huddersfield score in the second half, you'll know about it. Now, that's a foul on Blinker by the basketball-like Carlton Palmer, who's also a former Sheffield Wednesday player, and the referee Jeff Winter just wants a word of admonishment with Carlton Palmer, who sensibly retreats as swiftly as possible. Sheffield Wednesday's set pieces are always interesting under the teaching of Messrs. Pleat and Shreves. It's Nolan from the left-hand side in towards the penalty spot, and Carlton Palmer, who conceded the set piece, also partially clears it, but only as far as the edge of the box, where Booth turns, gives it straight to Mark Haitley, and Haitley just boots it anywhere, which in this case is halfway downfield. Ian Hart performs a miraculous feat of falling over and heading the ball at the same time, having lost his balance. And here come the white shirts with Lee Sharp. Was he caught a little late by Pembridge? Referee plays an excellent advantage and leads sweep forward down this right-hand side with Gary Kelly. Deep cross beyond the penalty spot to Haitley, who seemed to be leaning in on a defender, Atherton. Referee again allows play to flow, which is good to see. And it's Mark Ford who retrieves possession for the home side Leeds, who trail 1-0, and they have it on halfway. And now there are murmurs of discontent around the capacious stands of Elland Road as Leeds go backwards and sideways rather than forwards. And Carlton Palmer has it virtually in the right-back position. Now Gary Kelly on this near side, on the meeting point of the near touchline of the halfway line. Tackle by Nolan, throw to Leeds, taken swiftly. Ford is making a good run forward, but the throw is a little too ambitious. It comes off Ford, out of play. Throw to Sheffield Wednesday. So if you were writing your report on the first third of this match, Brian, what would you say?
Well, I think Sheffield Wednesday are ahead by 1-0, but certainly in points they're definitely ahead. Leeds have come into the game a little bit more. I think 1 or 2 forceful runs by Kelly have lifted the crowd and lifted 1 or 2 of the players, but they're still not looking as confident as they should. Sheffield Wednesday, on the other hand, they have started and continue to look quite a confident side.
5 Live from the BBC. The Tuesday match stands at Leeds 0. Sheffield Wednesday 1. Richie Humphreys, for the benefit of latecomers, with the goal after 13 minutes, and a corking finish it was as well. Bolton 0, Manchester City 0 in the First Division. And a half-time score of interest to our Scottish and Lithuanian listeners from Petrodry. Aberdeen 0, Zalgiris Vilnius 0. That's in the UEFA Cup qualifying round. The first leg was 4-1 to Aberdeen, who shouldn't really have any great problems. Celtic 0, Kosice 0 is also a latest and an aggregate score. That has yet to reach half-time at Celtic Park. Rush chases a long ball forward. It's a vain chase all the way through to Kevin Pressman, who in company with the other 21 players, plus 2 referees' assistants, as we now have to call them, and the burly figure of the excellent man in the middle, Jeff Winter, is absolutely soaked to the skin. So too are those people not fortunate enough to have bought season tickets beneath the roofs of the stands. This is Peter Atherton for Wednesday on the far side. In their blue and white there, essaying fourth down the right-hand side, playing from right to left towards the Kop end. That breaks down, and Stefanovic, who came primarily as a left-back but is playing centre-back alongside Des Walker this evening, one of the 2 Yugoslavs from Red Star, he clears it up over halfway. Now it's Andy Booth, tall and with a certain presence about him. Now Richie Humphries, 25 yards out. With the confidence of youth, he puts his foot on the ball. Spreads it to this near side of Nolan. Nolan with a driven cross. Up goes the header. It's a looping header from Andy Booth. It came off the back of Richard Jobson's head and straight through to Nigel Martin. No letting up in the action. It's good, entertaining stuff.
It's a good game, actually. There's some very good play, and it's interesting to see Sheffield Wednesday. Every time they get forward, they look as if they're a threat to the Leeds United goal, and I do believe that the defence of Leeds aren't marking just as well as they should. But saying that, it's nice to see 2 young players looking so effervescent, so bright, and so confident up front for Sheffield Wednesday.
Humphries, who is 18, and Booth, who is in his early 20s. This is Rush, who's 34. Nearly through to another teenager, Britain's most expensive, Lee Bowyer, but not quite on this occasion. Richard Jobson retreats and now advances and tries a shot from distance. I suppose it's always worth a go in these slippery conditions, but from 35 yards it's got to be something special to beat Kevin Pressman, and that was far from special.
Yeah, it was a long way out, and I think Pressman was very comfortable with it, but I think it's Leeds are looking for inspiration from somewhere. I'm really looking on the pitch to see where that's going to come from. You feel somebody like Booth, who's a lovely touch on the ball, or sharp, need to get a hold of it and bring other people into play. At the moment, Leeds are coming back into it slightly, but again, Sheffield Wednesday look very comfortable.
Interesting score in the UEFA Cup. Half-time, Barry Town 1, Budapest Vasútas 0 tonight, which means it's only 3-2 to Vasútas on aggregate. So Barry Town are in with a shout of making the first round proper as well. Be excellent if they did. Now, here's Pembridge. He had the ginger hair, which is closely cropped now and looks a slightly lighter colour than it did before. Whether some artificial aid has been applied, I'm not quite sure. If it had, it probably washed off by now. Leeds try and make their way forward down this right-hand side. The neat interpassing is perhaps not entirely suited to this tricky surface with the rain still coming down. And the outcome is that the ball goes out of play for a throw to Sheffield Wednesday, who still lead 1-0, and we have 8 minutes remaining in a well-contested first half, of which Wednesday have definitely had the major share. Leeds have been hanging on at times, but they have struck the frame of the goal twice as well. Rush and Bowyer going within inches of finding an equalising goal. This is Atherton for Wednesday on the right-hand side. A 1-2 with Wayne Collins. Then a scything tackle coming in from Lucas Radaby, which was a yard outside the right edge of the penalty area. The Wednesday player Atherton fell inside, but a free kick on the edge of the box.
The referee was quite right. 1 yard outside. Peter Atherton played a neat 1-2 on the edge of the box. Lucas Radaby went diving in. Poor quality defending there. If he missed the ball, he was taking Atherton in a very, very dangerous position.
Well, this is ideal for a left footer, of whom 2 are in close attendance. The ball is a yard outside the right edge of the penalty area. It's now 2 yards outside because referee Winter from Stockton-on-Tees wasn't happy with the placement. And it's going to be left to Mark Pembridge, who's curled in many a free kick in his Luton and Derby days, but also Andy Booth lurks. Pembridge with the free kick. Referee Winter is far from happy with the placement of the Leeds wall. That's never 10 yards, he says in his northeast brogue. Now it is, or at least it's 9.5. Here's Pembridge with a low shot, which is one of the most disappointing free kicks you could possibly imagine. He scuffed it straight into one of the pairs of feet making up the Leeds wall, and the ball ricochets downfield.
Poor free kick. He did scuff it, and it was amazing that when he did play the ball, it nearly went underneath the Leeds wall.
It was almost subterranean, wasn't it, that free kick?
Well, I don't know what was worked there, but intentions were certainly to put it over the wall, and goalkeeper Nigel Martin's left-hand corner didn't happen, went along the ground. Poor free kick.
Can I just draw your and the listeners' attention to someone who we could call a nutter? Tango, the bare-chested Sheffield Wednesday fan, is in the south stand away to the right. It's his drum that you can hear. He's the man that, come rain or shine, sleet or snow, never ever wears a shirt and paints himself orange.
Well, I can understand him not wearing a shirt today, for it is very warm. But I hope he was in out of that rain, for it would have beaten his chest to death. I'll tell you if it had fell on him.
Wigan 1, Preston 3, a Steve Wilkinson hat-trick for North Ends in the first round, first leg of the Coca-Cola Cup. For those of you that may have caught sight of Tango on television, you'll know he's a delicate flower for a man of 22.5 stone. And he's somewhere in there in the south stand making an awful racket. 6 minutes to half-time, Leeds 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1. It takes all sorts to follow the professional game. And Pressman clears heftily from right to left. Flicked on by Andy Booth. Blinker made an intelligent run through the centre, and Radaby, the South African, tried a bicycle kick to get it clear. Only as far as halfway, and Ian Nolan, this most tidy of left fullbacks, pumped forward in the direction of the heart of the Leeds rearguard, headed down and away this time by Richard Jobson, who happily is restored after injury that kept him out of the second half of last season. But only this time, as far as Ian Nolan, does the clearance go from Jobson. Sheffield Wednesday try and build on the far side with Atherton. Atherton wins it away from Ian Rush. He's got support to his right from Guy Whittingham. Whittingham with a first-time cross, volleyed clear by Carlton Palmer. Only high into the mid-evening sky, which is a fairly wet sight at the moment. And then the flag doesn't go up from the linesman on the far side of the referee's assistant, but the referee spots an infringement, raises his arm and gives a free kick to Leeds, which Nigel Martin takes to Ian Hart on halfway. Hart strikes it forward towards Haitley. Haitley's not had the best of good fortune. He was just ready to head the ball into the path of two onrushing Leeds players, and Stefanovic in front of him got just a couple of hairs to it and diverted it out of his path. A throw to Leeds on this near side, level with the right edge of the Wednesday box. Leeds beginning to try and put something together, but they're trailing 1-0 and they've been terribly disjointed for the most part this evening. And that throw in again bears no fruit at all. Leeds have it on halfway with Radaby just down below our commentary position. Forward for Jobson, of all people, to chase. That was a little bit too far ahead of Jobson, though. One bounce through to Pressman.
I think that's one of the things that Howard Wilkinson will be most disappointed about, is that the team haven't played so well. They haven't started the season very well here at all, but the front two haven't really functioned. I think he has to look very seriously at that, because at the moment there's no out for them. Both Rush and Haitley are both being contained by a very solid Sheffield Wednesday defence.
Coca-Cola Cup scores: Wigan 1, Preston 3, Oxford 1, Norwich 1. Here's Ian Nolan for Wednesday down the left-hand side with a deep cross that's headed away and beyond the crossbar for a corner to Wednesday by young Ian Hart. Now, whilst we wait for the corner, let's go quickly to the county ground and Steve Tongue.
Where Swindon have made a breakthrough. Mark Walters' cross headed in by Wayne Allison 4 minutes before half-time. Swindon 1, Wolves 0.
Now, to help me and to help Steve, Mark Pembridge has started limping, and so we still haven't had the corner. He's jogging across rather tenderly to the far side. Then he takes it short. Maybe that was part of the ploy. To Reggie Blinker. Back to Wayne Collins. Collins lets it run. Pembridge with the shot. Deflected clear by one of the defensive players. I think it was Lee Bowyer that actually got a shin to the ball just a couple of yards in front of Nigel Martin. But Leeds looking far from convincing in defensive mode. They haven't done too much in the other half of the field as well. And the natives are now more than restless. They're beginning to voice their disapproval in no uncertain terms. This is Whittingham for Wednesday in blue and white down the right-hand side. No one's picked up Reggie Blinker, whose right foot isn't too potent a weapon, but that's not too bad a cross. Booth's header, high, looping into the arms of Martin.
Yes, Howard Wilkinson will be glad to hear the half-time whistle. He just wants to get in and get talking to them, because he has to settle generally the team down. He has to encourage them for their looks, as if there's a lack of confidence out there, and they'll be glad to get in, get a seat and get talking to one another to see how they're going to put it right.
Well, this is Lee Bowyer, signed from Charlton for £2.6 million, and that wasn't a multi-million pound pass. It's put Leeds under a modicum of pressure, and Nigel Martin has come up as a sweeper from goal and returned it to Lucas Radaby. Now Palmer, all on his own, 10 yards shy of the halfway line. Forward only as far as Des Walker, who is just a month short now of his 30th birthday and still looking for that elusive recall into the England setup. There's no great prospect of it arriving this week unless Glenn Hoddle's thinking is radically different from that of his predecessor. This is Pembridge now, who is in Bobby Gould's thinking. Bobby Gould, by the way, is here this evening in the crowd watching. A crowd of probably no more than 30,000 inside Elland Road for this Yorkshire derby, which at the moment, with 2 minutes to go to the break, stands at Leeds 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Richie Humphreys with the only goal so far after 13 minutes, his second in as many games. And this is Humphreys on halfway, twisting and turning past Radaby, who recovers well, sweeps in with his left foot and clears to touch into the wet, bedraggled members of the season ticket holders brethren in the east stand on the far side. It's a throw to Wednesday, which is taken back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bounces and a little roll back to Kevin Pressman, and the half is ending fairly meekly, Brian.
Yes, I think the game has slowed down in the last 5 or 10 minutes. It started very brightly, certainly for Sheffield Wednesday, but Leeds have come a little bit more into the game. Not enough to please Howard Wilkinson and certainly not the crowd. And as I've said, they'll be looking to get in at half-time to try and regroup, recover and discuss what they're going to do, because at the moment they're not really looking to force anywhere. They're looking a bit disjointed at the back. They've left 1 or 2 free men and it could have been more goals. There haven't been any real passing movements in the middle of the park, no inventive passing, and up front they haven't looked like a force at all, so they need to do a little bit of talking. Sheffield Wednesday, on the other hand, they'll be very pleased. They've been very confident, good passing, created a lot of chances, and should be more than 1 goal up.
Well, with a minute to go in this first half, Mark Hateley's first meaningful contribution is to win a free kick for a foul from behind by Des Walker, and it's a free kick that's 6 yards outside the left corner of the Wednesday box. There's a 2-man wall in position. That's a token gesture, really. 5 Leeds players wait for the cross, which comes in now from Lee Sharp towards the back post. Up goes Richard Jobson. Pressman only parries it. Lee Bowyer goes in for the follow-up, and Pressman comes 12 yards out and gathers it at the second attempt.
He's a beautiful cross to the ball, Lee Sharp. That's one of the reasons why Howard Wilkinson has signed him, and so far we haven't really seen great evidence of it. 2 corner kicks and that free kick, but he's a beautiful striker of the ball.
Brian Hamilton, the Northern Ireland manager, with us on BBC 5 Live this evening, and watching a game that's deteriorated in terms of quality in this first period. It started very brightly. There was an excellent start, particularly by Wednesday, who took the lead through Humphreys. Leeds struck the post through Rush and clipped the top of the bar through Lee Bowyer, who also scored on his debut at Derby on Saturday, and so it remains. Wednesday 1 up, and we're in the first minute of stoppage time at the end of the first half, and the players are reduced to more or less a jog at this stage. Wednesday have won a throw deep inside their own half, and Peter Atherton eventually will take it, but he's wiping the ball precociously on the white stripe in the middle of his blue shirt, and now he does take the throw, which bounces awkwardly, lands on halfway at the feet of Richie Humphreys. Booth plays it forward, and then the referee spots something that he doesn't like. One of the Wednesday players was held back, I think, and it's going to be a Wednesday free kick.
I think that might have been a mistake for the referee there, because Sheffield Wednesday were on the break and it looked like Humphreys had got in there behind the Leeds defenders. The referee really, I think, was very sharp. It was a free kick. He might have been wiser to let the play go for a few seconds and then call them back, because Sheffield Wednesday were in a very advantageous position there.
Here's the Wednesday free kick. Chip forward from halfway by Atherton towards Booth, who's well beaten in the air by Richard Jobson. That's the end of the first half. And listen to those boos for Leeds United. This can be the most hostile of places, this ground, for visiting teams, but it can also be the worst possible place to play if you're the home side and you're doing badly. And Howard Wilkinson and Mick Hennigan look fairly downcast as they head down the tunnel to deliver a half-time team talk that needs to rescue the home side, who trail to Richie Humphreys' goal after 13 minutes. Let's get the midway thoughts of our expert this evening, Brian Hamilton.
Well, I think everything's been said. I think Sheffield Wednesday started off very brightly, should have had 1 or 2 goals very early on. Leeds very slow to settle. Humphreys put Sheffield Wednesday ahead, and Leeds seemed to deteriorate from there. And as the game went on, I thought Sheffield Wednesday looked very comfortable, very confident, had taken the sting out of the Leeds crowd and also the Leeds team. And Howard Wilkinson, he'll be pleased to get in the dressing room, sit down, have a talk, because they've got to put a lot of things right. Sheffield Wednesday...
Blinker was nearly onto it. Kelly sends it back to Martin. Ford, Bowyer and Sharp in midfield for Leeds. Rush and Hateley up front. Wednesday have Pressman in goal. Atherton, Walker, Stefanovic and Nolan. In midfield, Whittingham, Collins, Pembridge and Blinker. And up front, Booth and the young man Humphreys, who's done so well. Rush for Leeds, edge of the penalty area. Headed down well by Nolan and gathered by Pembridge. Nolan was one of the featured players of the first half, I thought, Brian. He does love to get forward, doesn't he? He's not only a good defender, he is an extra piece of ammunition going forward?
Well, that's one of his strengths. He's very keen to get forward, and he's very quick, very sure on of his footing, and certainly was a good player in the first half. Leeds obviously have been told to try and get in this game very quickly. They've started off a little bit quicker in this half than they did the first, and Sheffield Wednesday are just taking stock, and this is their first real attack.
They have a throw-in, right-hand side, 30 yards from the corner flag, down in front of us with their right full-back, Peter Atherton, wearing 2. Hurls it towards the near post, helped on there into the danger zone. Blinker went in for it. Up highest there was Radaby, who conceded the original throw-in. Comes to Collins, left side of midfield, wearing 20, the recruit from Crewe. Pembridge is in support of him. Now Nolan coming forward from the halfway line. Blinker with a nice touch. Collins goes in again, but Rush has won it nicely, only to give it away again to Nolan under pressure. Now Stefanovic, Wednesday having to start again from inside their own half, and with Rush putting the pressure on, Stefanovic turns it all the way back to Kevin Pressman on what has turned into a miserly evening in West Yorkshire. The rain has more or less disappeared, but it's somehow still in the air. Humphreys, 25 yards out. Good tackle effected by Radaby. Clearance helped on its way by Bowyer. Rush will chase. Again, Stefanovic goes back. Haitley's there as well. And so the Yugoslav does well to lift it away from the pair of them and bring Nolan into the game again. Good ball from Nolan forward to the halfway line, and Booth, who cushions it back into the centre circle. It's spread to this near side at Atherton, whose first touch is just a little loose. Humphreys does well to help him out and try to bring it away from Radaby. The South African got a touch on it, and it's got into touch again on this near side for another Sheffield Wednesday throw-in. 15, maybe 17, 20 yards away from the right corner of the Leeds penalty area. Atherton takes and receives back from Pembridge, who's closed down by 2 white shirts, so has to return to Pembridge, and Pembridge from halfway helps on its way back to Pressman, and there's a clash on the halfway line off the ball between Bowyer and Pembridge. The referee has waved play on, and the ball has disappeared to the far side of the field, where there's a throw into Sheffield Wednesday. Goal in the first division game at Bolton. Jimmy Armfield.
Bolton 1, Manchester City 0, 49 minutes. Per Franson, that's the new Danish international for Bolton, stepped inside one tackle, unleashed a left foot shot. Akim will never saw it. Bolton 1, Manchester City 0. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you, Jimmy. There'll be lots of noise, lots of passion in that local derby. There's not so much noise here because Leeds are behind and they're under pressure. Trailing 1-0. Reggie Blinker, left corner of the penalty area. Little ball infield for Nolan. Humphreys is calling for it. Turn back to Collins, right-footed. It's got a deflection. It's hit the post and it's bounced out to Radaby. And Martin looks as if it was going to come and gather, but Hart has hoofed it into touch and Leeds are off the hook.
Yes, they are. They're very fortunate. It was a very patient play by Sheffield Wednesday. A nice little roll ball, 30 yards out. Collins lifted his right leg back, struck it very well, but it took a horrible deflection, and Nigel Martin was no man's land. It came off back off the post.
Atherton throws to the near post, headed on through to Blinker, who was just looking to hit a left-footed shot when Ford intervened and did so necessarily and well. Kelly helps him bring the ball away from the penalty area. He's being forced across the face of his own box and is glad that Radaby is there in support. Wide of Radaby is Hart, coming up towards the halfway line. Left-hand side for Leeds, who must find ideas now. Hart hits it long, looking for Rush, headed away to Atherton. And Peter Atherton, who, as his surname, in conjunction with the England cricket captain, suggests is a Lancastrian in a Yorkshire environment. Atherton clears, but rather scuffs his clearance horribly, and it goes into touch for a throw-in. Headed down by Haitley. Sharp goes in for it, but his touch was loose as well. And that man, Peter Atherton, hoofs it onto the top of a roof between the two Perspex dugouts right on the halfway line. And Leeds have a throw-in, which Lucas Radaby, an integral part of the South African team, which won the African Cup during the latter part of the season, last season, takes. Hurls it towards the edge of the penalty area, but sufficient Wednesday cohorts were there to get it away, and it's played forward again by Lucas Radaby, again without too much in the way of accuracy. Jeff Winter has called the whole thing back, though, because there is a player down injured in the centre circle. Again, the result of an event which occurred off the ball, and one which escaped my attention. Andy Booth is the player in question. He's holding his mouth. He might have to make an appointment with the dentist, but he's going to carry on playing regardless of that for now.
No, I'll be okay. It was just a precaution. The referee was quite right. It was a head injury and he stopped the play as soon as he possibly could. But it's just interesting to compare how Booth and Humphreys have played tonight. They look a real threat, very confident on the ground, confident in the air, and have given Leeds a hard time. Where Ian Rush, Mark Hitley, all that experience really haven't come into the game at all in any fashion.
Humphreys looking to make a career. Booth, who's on the verge really of having made one. He's already a couple of £1 million player, really effective at Huddersfield, just down the A62 from here, and now looking to prove that he can do it a division higher with Wednesday. And the early signs are that he probably can. Certainly if he has a partner as lightning quick as his Sheffield-born teenage mate Richie Humphreys, who scored the only goal of the game so far. 5 Live, the Tuesday match, 6 minutes into the second half at Ellen Road. It's Leeds United 0, Sheffield Wednesday looking for 2 wins out of 2, 1. Humphreys got the goal, and Wednesday have had the majority of the ball in the early stages of the second half, just as they did really throughout the whole of the first half. And they have another throw-in, close to the corner flag in their attacking third. Atherton hurls it towards the near post. Haitley got up to head away from there. Collins comes across to gather. In though for Leeds goes Lee Bowyer wearing 11 to slide it into touch for another throw. Atherton has been hugely involved early on since half-time with a number of throw-ins from this right flank. Collins comes to take it short from him. Now Pembridge midway inside the Leeds half. Blinker gets a touch, has to turn it back nearer to halfway where Stefanovic gathers and hits it long and searchingly into the penalty area. Martin comes to gather though, having seen Atherton head from the corner of the box. Atherton anyway had climbed on Hart, and Martin hits the resultant free kick from the corner of the box. It's met by Walker just inside his territory. Nice touch from Humphreys, helped on its way back to Humphreys, or would have been had it not been for Radaby's intervention. And now Bowyer sweeps it to the far side, and Kelly, who chests down. Jobson hits it long. Haitley is onside. Walker's between him and the box, and Walker's just strong enough to get in front of Haitley and heave it to this near side for a Leeds throw-in. He was nearly there, nearly in.
Yes, it was just a hopeful ball up from Jobson. Kelly had lost the ball, and I think he just huffed it up the park very quickly. It got behind a very square Sheffield Wednesday back four, and Haitley was nearly onto it.
Hart with the Leeds throw-in towards the near post from where it's headed away, up to Humphreys again, competing with Radaby. They've both gone down, possibly a clash of heads. The referee continues to allow play to go on. He may have to stop it shortly because Humphreys is down clutching his head, and the instruction sagely is to stop the game under these circumstances. Radaby is still down, Humphreys is still down. There was nothing deliberate about that. Clearly both players have come out of it with a sore head. It was an innocent clash of heads, and each is going to require attention before they carry on.
Yes, I'm sure they'll both be all right. Both trainers on very quickly to deal with it, but certainly Leeds at the moment need inspiration. They either need a wonderful piece of play that'll inspire everybody and break the Sheffield Wednesday defence down, or as in that last occasion, a hopeful ball up the pitch which just catches him by mistake. Radaby's coming off, so obviously he has had a little bit of a cut, but I'm sure he'll not be very long before he's back on again.
Score from the Coca-Cola Cup: Torquay 3, Bristol City 1. Something's happened during the summer at Torquay, who finished 14 points clear of the rest at the bottom of the third division last year, and we're glad that Stevenage won the conference for all sorts of well-explored reasons. But they won on Saturday, did Torquay, and they're 3-1 up on Bristol City. Paul Baker having scored a hat-trick for them, and Bristol City have had a wretched start to the season. They lost at Gillingham on Saturday, and now they're losing at what was the basement club last year. Bit of a West Country confrontation there. Mind you, there's a few miles between Torquay and Bristol. Play has resumed here, and Sheffield Wednesday, leading by a goal to nil, have a goal kick in front of the Don Revie stand, which Kevin Pressman, their England B international goalkeeper, is preparing to take. Chris Woods, by the way, if you're wondering what's happened to him, has disappeared into American football. He now plays for the Colorado Rabbits. Maybe they are. Colorado Rapids. But there is another very accomplished goalkeeper on the Sheffield Wednesday bench now, or at least one fast becoming accomplished, Matthew Clark, having been signed by David Pleat from Rotherham during the summer, a fee which could rise to £500,000 according to the number of first-team games he eventually gets. But He came across the M1 at just about the point where you find the Meadow Hall shopping centre and arrived at Hillsborough from Millmore, and he's on the bench alongside his manager now, watching a team which is performing really well. Whittingham on the edge of the centre circle, clashes with his opposite number 7, Lee Sharp, and Leeds have the ball back now with Hart. Bowyer's outside of him, Hart tries to play the early ball, Whittingham blocks it, Humphreys comes to get the loose ball, Pembridge plays it wide for Whittingham. It was an awkward ball for Guy Whittingham to take, and it runs into touch for a Leeds throw-in, which Lee Bowyer is keen to take, but Ian Hart decides that he ought to. Wearing 20, young man who scored at Derby gleefully on Saturday in a game which by all accounts Leeds really ought to have won. Throws it onto Haitley's head on the edge of the box. Stabbed further forward by Ford. Rush has gone in there, might break for Bowyer. Kelly has a crack from distance, skids all the way along the ground, but tumbling to his knees, Kellen Pressman pulls off what was a fairly regulation save.
Yeah, it's amazing. Leeds have gone down to 10 men, and they look the team that have the 11. They're playing with a little bit of confidence. They've passed the ball, they've had a shot and goal, and maybe they need just that little bit of luck or inspiration from somewhere.
Humphreys try to exploit the fact that Radaby is still off the field, and Leeds therefore are playing with a regulation back four. Palmer and Jobson between Kelly and Hart. Humphreys couldn't get beyond Hart, but he has earned his side a throw-in, which Atherton takes. Humphreys comes to gather, takes it nicely on his instep, giving Atherton the chance to cross. Sharp intervenes before he can cross, though, and scrapes it up to halfway, where Walker meets it for Wednesday. Long ball down the inside right channel. Booth will struggle to keep this in, and in the event, actually, he didn't. He scoops it back from behind the byline. Martin caught it, was eager to clear from out of his hands, but the linesman having flagged, Jeff Winter, insists that he takes a goal kick. We're not supposed to say linesman. But referee's assistant, honestly, is a bit of a mouthful. Can you imagine those vociferous fans at Fulham, for instance, or Leyton Orient saying, "Come on, ref's assistant." Everyone knows it's "come on, lino." And you can't say lino when it's a ref's assistant. It all seems a bit wordy to me, but there you are. That's what we're meant to call them. And Leeds have the ball on the halfway line. Brian?
Yeah, the game's going through a little bit of a scruffy spell, you know, and we really need something to happen here, and here's a
this
chance
is
now.
Haitley, edge of the penalty area, right-footed shot, good save by Pressman. Haitley's first vigorous effort from the edge of the penalty area, and Pressman did well to be in the right spot and to gather it into his chest. Good save, good shot.
Maybe the wrong way around. It was a rush header for Haitley run onto, and maybe it should have been the Haitley header for the rush running onto the ball. I think that's the way that combination's supposed to work. But certainly the 10 men of Leeds have had 2 chances since Lucas Radaby went off.
Collins for Wednesday couldn't play the ball he wanted into the penalty area. Kelly will bring it away for Leeds. Another score from the Coca-Cola Cup. Huddersfield clearly not missing Andy Booth. 3, Wrexham 0, and Marcus Stewart, whom they've just purchased from Bristol Rovers, has scored a hat-trick for them, so they're doing okay. Huddersfield 3, Wrexham 0. Hart for Leeds, good ball, left-footed down the left side of the box. Bowyer in the penalty area, Rush arriving, header against the bar and over. Oh, what's he got to do to score? Bowyer did terribly well to get around the fullback then. Rush went in, and wasn't a defender who got the last touch for us. Pressman pulled off a great save.
Well, I think that it's amazing this. The crowd are trying to lift each other. They're getting behind the team. They've 10 men Leeds, and they've had 3 chances. Sheffield Wednesday have really gone asleep, and they were exposed there badly down their right back side, and all of a sudden the ball was played in for Rush, who really did very well to get in, and it just skimmed off the crossbar.
Well, he's looking livelier. Haitley's starting to get a gallop up, and the supporters are starting to exercise their tonsils a bit, which is what the players will crave. Players have to lift crowds, and crowds have to lift players, and neither did much for either during the first half, but possibly now it's starting to happen for Leeds, and Mick Hennigan's starting to fidget on the bench, and Howard Wilkinson's starting to look more interested. Leeds are looking more interested. Rush plays it through. Haitley will chase. Stefanovic goes back under pressure from Haitley, who was hoping that the Yugoslav might get a final touch. He doesn't, and it's behind for a goal kick. It's all about mood on an evening like this, Brian, isn't it? The feeling that Leeds can get back into it.
Well, it's a confidence factor as well, and you can see people in the crowd waving the other people to try and lift the team, because they know they're in a little bit of trouble. They need a bit of help, and they're trying to simulate each other, but I see Radaby's coming back on, so that's them back to their 11. Maybe that little spell with 3 chances, maybe just pick them up, and Radaby coming back on might give them a little bit of extra strength and certainly possession anyway.
Radaby joins the team with more belief than the one he left. Here's Sharp running at the edge of the penalty area. Rush is in the box, chance for Ian Rush. He falls under pressure from 2 defenders. Boy, they bayed for a penalty. They didn't get one, but there is one at Aberdeen. Andy Gillies.
And Vilnius have made it. Aberdeen 0, Vilnius 2. Levicius is the Lithuanian player who scored the penalty. And now you can hear the reaction to this Aberdeen performance in the local crowd. Aberdeen now 4-3 up on aggregate, and with that maybe vital away goal in Lithuania to help them on their way. But this is a dreadful performance. Aberdeen 0, Vilnius 2.
That's not terribly clever. We ought to get your view, Brian, on the Rush moment. Penalty or not penalty?
Well, I think the referee was very well placed and he was very definite. I don't think Rush had the legs to get beyond Walker. I think it was Walker or Stefanovic. I wasn't sure which of them, but both of them are very quick. I don't think Ian Rush was able to get in there, and he looked as if he fell over. I think the referee was quite right. The Leeds crowd don't agree, but I think if we see that again, and I'm sure we will many times, that it'll prove the referee was right.
Well, Leeds are a much, much better side, and Ellen Road feels the way Leeds like it to feel. Except that is for the scoreboards variously dotted around the ground, which show Leeds a goal behind, and Whittingham competing on the edge of the 6-yard area with Martin for the ball floated in from the left by Pembridge. Martin, with the use of hands above head, clearly favourite to gather the ball, as indeed he does, and then rolls it to the D on the edge of the penalty area, just beyond, and hoofs it from off the turf, centrally up the field. Middle is dark head by Stefanovic, back by Jobson into the centre circle. Bit of head tennis now involving Pembridge, then Ford. Up goes Rush, Stefanovic is there as well, and now it comes down to Nolan, who keeps the ball on the turf and slides it forward for Reggie Blinker. Blinker slides it with one foot underneath the other to bring it away from Kelly. Infield for Collins, who's clattered into by Rush. And as a result of that, Sheffield Wednesday had 5 Live from the BBC. It is Leeds United 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Approaching fairly soon the 3/4 point of the game. Richie Humphreys down the left side of the Leeds penalty area. And as John mentioned in the first half, right at the end, Sheffield Wednesday will be top of the Premiership if they hold on to or add to this lead that they have in a Yorkshire derby. And they have a throw-in. 10 yards from the corner flag, far side, their left-hand side, in front of the corner of the ground, designated for their supporters. Pembridge takes it, Jobson heads away, chested down by Bowyer, lifted to safety by Kelly, but gathered on his chest by Collins, who's tackled by Haitley, going in muscular fashion. Didn't win it cleanly, though. Atherton plays it forward, aimed towards Booth, headed away by Jobson, comes down for Hart, and now Radaby with a clean chance to clear properly. He didn't take the chance well. His clearance came all the way through to Atherton, and Atherton turns it back to Pressman. There's activity on the Leeds bench. Pressman's got himself into trouble dribbling out of his box. Rush nearly nicked it from him. Bowyer went diving in as well. And there must have been hearts in mouths on the Wednesday bench there as the goalkeeper over-elaborated. He did get his clearance in though, so 18 minutes into the second half, Wednesday still lead by a goal to nil.
Back to Ellen Road in a minute, but let's get up to date with our featured matches this evening. Bolton and Manchester in the First Division now. Jimmy Armfield.
65 minutes gone, still Bolton 1, Manchester City 0. The goal, 49 minutes from Per Franson, the Danish international. Since then, Bolton will look much better side. Emmels made 2 super saves, one from Thompson, another from Blake. City trying to desperately get back into it. Sotheby's come on for Frontsek. Bolton 1, Manchester City 0.
Now let's get news from the UEFA Cup. Celtic and Košice of Slovakia. Roddy Forsyth.
It's a sweaty evening in more ways than one here in Glasgow, let me tell you. Celtic have brought on Paolo Di Canio to replace the ineffective Brian McLaughlin. They have perked up, but so too have Košice in the last few moments. And I have to say again that Pierre Van Hooijdonk, presented with a gilt chance at the back post, put it past instead of in when it seemed easier to do so. So it is all looking very edgy this evening here at Celtic Park, as indeed, of course, it is up at Pittodrie too.
And it's looking edgy up at Pittodrie because Aberdeen are making a right hash of things against Žalgiris Vilnius of Lithuania. Andy Gillies.
You can say that again. 9 minutes to go. It's Aberdeen 0, Vilnius 2. The second Vilnius goal from that penalty after 76 minutes. Aberdeen now trying desperately to just ease their nerves by getting one past the Vilnius goalkeeper, and they've just had a John Ingles header cleared off the line. But Vilnius have put on a great performance here this evening. Aberdeen have huffed and puffed to absolutely no effect, and Roy Aitken will be sweating on the bench. Aberdeen 0, Vilnius 2.
And the score from Barry Town, it's now Barry Town 2, Budapest Vosh Utos 1. So that is 4-3 to the Hungarians on aggregate. To the Coca-Cola Cup, first round, first leg. Swindon and Wolves at the county ground. Another goal for Steve Tongue.
It's now Swindon 2, Wolves 0. It had been a very quiet second half until Ewan Roberts almost forced in Steve Bull's cross for Wolves. Immediately Swindon broke out, and although Walter's short cross wasn't well placed, Allison was able to prod it back for Scott Leach, who's a summer signing from Hearts, to add to Allison's first half goal. Swindon 2, Wolves 0.
And Rob Bonnet to the Manor Ground, Oxford and Norwich.
Yeah, still 1-1. First half goals from Johnson for Norwich and Jensen for Oxford. Not quite the brightness of that first period, with Oxford shading it in the second by providing chances for Bobby Ford and David Smith. But Norwich went closest to scoring a few minutes ago as Edie's long-range shot scraped the outside of Oxford's right-hand post. 1-1.
And the other scores in the Coca-Cola Cup. Brentford 1, Plymouth 0. Cardiff 1, Northampton 0. Carlisle 1, Chester 0. Colchester 1, West Brom 1. Darlington 1, Rotherham 0. Cambridge 0. Huddersfield 3, Wrexham 0. Hull 2, Scarborough 2. Ipswich 1, Bournemouth 1. Luton 3, Bristol Rovers 0. Mansfield 0, Burnley 2. Notts County 0, Bury 0. Oldham 0, Grimsby 1. Oxford 1, Norwich 1, we've heard. Port Vale 1, Crewe 0. Portsmouth 2, Leyton Orient 0. Reading 1, Wickham 1. Rochdale 1, Barnsley 1. Scunthorpe 2, Blackpool 1. Sheffield United 1, Bradford 0. Southend 0, Fulham 1. Stockport 2, Chesterfield 1. Swansea 0, Gillingham 1. Torquay 3, Bristol City 1. Walsall 1, Watford 0. And Wigan 1, Preston North End 3. All the full-time scores, of course, when they come in after the end of the game at Ellen Road. Back we return, though, to Peter Drury.
Leeds have made 2 changes. Weatherall and Gray have come on for Ford and Radaby. Gray has a throw-in for Leeds, who still trail by a goal to 0. He receives it back from Palmer. Right corner of the penalty area. Right-footed cross. Up goes Jobson with the header. He couldn't glance it goalwards, but he does glance it into the path of Haitley, who tries to win a corner off Whittingham. Doesn't succeed in doing that. Atherton goes across and clears into touch. While he's been away, Carlton Palmer has miskicked badly when on the edge of the penalty area and with a clear sight and goal. Otherwise, Leeds continue to press. Hart with the throw-in, hurled towards the near post, headed only partially away. Sharp goes in, Wednesday bring it away from him. Blinker has lots and lots of space. He's running at Bowyer, he's running at the halfway line, he's beyond halfway, and he has Humphreys in advance of him and Pembridge in support. Bowyer has forced Blinker to pull up somewhat. Nolan is behind him. Now Collins wearing 20. Pembridge tries to help it on its way to Blinker. Stefanovic picks up a loose cannoning ball on the halfway line and sees it out for a throw-in. Leeds are the team in the ascendant, Brian.
Yes, they are, and I think it's a good move by Howard Wilkinson. He certainly, the way the formation was, it wasn't working. He's gone to a flat back four in the middle of the park, pushing Sharp wide, and that should enable the 2 front players to get more service. The crowd certainly like it, and Leeds have got the ball in the Sheffield Wednesday.
Sharp with a left-footed shot. Given it by Palmer on the edge of the penalty area. It was a sharp shot, but it was just off target.
Sharp shot. Well done, Peter. No, it's all Leeds at the moment. They've got the team going forward now. There's a bit of a better shape. Sheffield Wednesday have gone a little bit quiet in the last 10 minutes. I don't know whether it's Leeds picked up or Sheffield Wednesday gone back. But certainly Leeds at the moment are going through the best part of the game so far for them.
Barry Town have just scored in the UEFA Cup. 3-1 up on the night, 4-4 on aggregate. Terrific tie, and that'll be 3-1 in each game after 90 minutes of the second game, so away goals will count for nothing. It could go all the way, that tie. We're 24 minutes into the second half of this Premiership game. Leeds trail by a goal to nil, but they've been doing most of the attacking in the second half. Haitley was nearly in again now. The mood is entirely different from that which it was when last I said that John Champion would take you through.
Yes, at the moment it just seems a question of when Leeds are going to score the equaliser, Brian.
Yes, they're certainly playing better, and I think that Leeds have certainly picked up. Sheffield Wednesday, I don't think have done as well. I think they've had a reasonably quiet start, and they've gone a little bit quieter still. So really, they haven't done so well this second half. But Leeds, you've got to give them credit. They've come forward, the crowd have got behind them, and they look a much better side at the moment.
It's a dank old night though in West Yorkshire. The rain has pretty well eased off completely now. The puddles down below us are still. They're not being splashed by further rainfall from the skies. But there's a veil of moisture drawn almost across the pitch in front of us. And we watch now in the murk on the far side as Sheffield Wednesday take a throw-in routine that doesn't work at all. Reggie Blinker, just distinguishable with his dreadlocks, as distinguishable as anyone, puts the ball out of play, and it's going to be a throw to Leeds deep inside their own territory. We're heading back to a nerve-ridden Pittodrie in the UEFA Cup, and Andy Gillies.
I was going to say the nerves of ease when Brian Irvin's header made it Aberdeen 1, Vilnius 2, but straight from the kick-off, Mikulášas with his second goal, terrific right foot shot from the edge of the D, has made it Aberdeen 1, Vilnius 3, and on my watch we have 3 minutes left.
So, Celtic 0, Košice 0 is also a latest score. That could be heading for extra time. Barry Town leading Budapest Besiktas 3-1. That's 4-all overall. And Ian Rush has gone down. Is it Ian Rush clutching his leg? It is. And the referee is just calming things down because Carlton Palmer wasn't too happy with the challenge that left Rush clutching his leg. Free kick taken swiftly towards Lee Sharp. Floated cross, it needs Stefanovic to head it down and away. That he does. Here's Andy Gray with a chest down and a volley left-footed from well out and well over the bar. It's like a game of family favourites out there, isn't it? Andy Gray, the son of Frank and Eddie's nephew. And Ian Hart, who's still out there performing well at the left side of defence, the left wing-back, is not actually related to Paul Hart, who's on the coaching staff, the former defender, but his uncle is the right-back, Gary Kelly. Now you can explain about these Irish families, can't you?
Follow that one, he says. No, to be fair, I think that Leeds have certainly picked up. I'm pleased that for Howard Wilkinson, because the crowd were starting to get a bit hostile and starting to get a bit restless. It's very early in the season and all the players are just finding their feet. Sheffield Wednesday have really gone quiet, and I think it's down to Leeds. The more I look at the shape of play, the way players are getting forward, and Howard Wilkinson's encouraging Lee Sharp to get that early service in to Haitley for Rush's support, so that just might help them.
Brian Hamilton on 5 Live from the BBC, National News and Sport Radio. Throw in to Wednesday, flicked on at the near post. Here's a chance perhaps for Wednesday to score a killing second goal. They have to settle for a corner conceded by the tall figure of Carlton Palmer, and Wednesday will waste a few more seconds in taking this. Referee Jeff Winter motions to Mark Pembridge to say, come on, at least break into a trot to go and get the ball and take the corner, rather than just walking across in such slovenly fashion. So Mark Pembridge trots, but that doesn't actually cover the ground any more quickly than he was before. It's a corner on this near side. Wednesday with 7 players up. It's an outswinger. Atherton it was that rose and directs his header right across the face of goal, where Mark Haitley seems somewhat disconcerted and doesn't clear at the first attempt. He needs help from Rush, and Leeds break forward now on this near side with Lee Bowyer. Bowyer crosses the halfway line, gets a deflected ball inside to Lee Sharp. Now Ian Rush within 5 yards of halfway. Square across the face of the halfway line to the far side, the right, and Gary Kelly. And now it's with Andy Gray, so fleet of foot, still only 18 years of age. Gray cuts in off the flank, thinks about a shot, digs the ball forward towards Bowyer. The keeper Pressman had read it, slides vainly towards the ball. It passes him. Bowyer's not in very close attendance, and it's out of play with 17 minutes to go. And the score, Leeds 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1.
Good play by Gray, lovely control, came inside, wanted to go on his favoured left foot and played a little dink of a ball in behind the back four where Bowyer was just a little bit late, but clever.
Pressman with the goal kick from the left-hand end makes 3/4 of the length of the pitch and all the way through to Nigel Martin. I don't want to worry you, Brian, but I know you've had a go at the Ukrainians today, and there's a couple of furtive-looking gentlemen down the far end of the gantry. I think they might be the Ukrainian Secret Service.
I hope they've got a video of their team. Could you ask them for me, John, if they've got one?
Because no one else has, and you certainly haven't. You're big in Kiev at the moment, I gather. High on their hit list. Northern Ireland facing the Ukraine very shortly in a very important World Cup qualifier. Now it's Nigel Martin who clears the ball from the right hand end. He gets prodigious distance on that, and Des Walker is stationed right on the edge of the left-hand penalty area and heads it directly into touch on this near side, the Leeds left, for a throw to the home side, who still trail to Richie Humphreys' goal, scored after 13 minutes, and we now have just over a quarter of an hour remaining. This would be a far from good result for Leeds against a side expected to struggle, but Wednesday have been full of spirit and full of ideas. They are though under the cosh at the moment, and here's Lee Sharp, fiddling his way through inside the penalty area, space up to left for Lee Sharp, goes to the inside of the post, it's bounced out again. That's the fourth time tonight that Leeds have struck the woodwork, and still they haven't scored a goal.
Yes, that was brilliant by Sharp. Poor defending by Sheffield Wednesday. Waltzed through 3 or 4. Peter Atherton's given off because nobody put in a tackle. He was a little bit fortunate, but lovely balance, and his shot, I thought it was a goal, just came back off the post. At this moment, Leeds have got to be thinking it's just not going to be their night.
Bowyer with a deep cross, headed down towards Rush. Rush gets one bite at it. That's deflected as well, and it's another corner. And this is the heaviest spell of Leeds pressure that we've seen this evening. It's a corner now in the gloom on the far side, in front of a goodly number of empty blue plastic seats. It's Andy Gray, this leggy winger, who's going to take it from the far side. It's driven towards the penalty spot. Up goes Richard Johnson, and Jobson actually took it away from a couple of his colleagues. It flicks off his head. He was doing some pushing anyway, and Sheffield Wednesday can clear their lines and just calm things down a bit, perhaps, with a free kick.
Yes, I think so, and I think they're going to have to buck up their ideas because they are looking a bit sleepy. They're looking towards the bench, and I think David Pleat must be thinking long and hard about maybe making a change. They need inspiration because at this moment in time, Leeds are the better side, and Sheffield Wednesday have just gone to sleep a little bit.
In the First Division, Bolton still lead Manchester City in that Lancashire derby through Per Franson's goal. It's 1-0 to Wanderers. In the Coca-Cola Cup, Oxford 1, Norwich 1, Swindon leading Wolves 2-0. Torquay 3, Bristol City 1, a hat-trick for Baker. Huddersfield 3, Wrexham 0, a hat-trick for Marcus Stewart. And Wigan 1, Preston North End 3, a hat-trick for Steve Wilkinson. And it's full-time at Pittodrie, so here's Andy Gillies.
And a mixture of boos and cheers. Cheers for the Lithuanians of Vilnius, who've beaten Aberdeen by 3 goals to 1. Not enough for them on the night. Aberdeen go through 5-4 on aggregate, but Roy Aitken won't be happy with this performance.
But at least they're through, which is more than we can say for Celtic at this stage. It's still 0-0 at Parkhead between Celtic and Kosice. That too is the aggregate score. Barry Town 3, Budapest Besiktas 1, 4-all overall. The aggregate score, and the part-timers of Barry Town are doing wonderfully well to get as close as that to a place in the first round proper. Less than quarter of an hour remaining here at Elland Road. Leeds 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1, which has been the way of it since the 13th minute when Richie Humphreys, left-footed cross shot, found the corner of Nigel Martin's net to give Wednesday the lead that they've held on to ever since, but holding on is just about all they're doing at this stage.
Yes, I think David Pleat will look to bring on somebody in the middle of the park, really, just to put their foot in, because...
Yeah, you are the perfect summariser, aren't you?
As I'm speaking,
Graham Hyde is coming on. It's no wonder we pay you, that much more than the other summarisers, is it?
No, they were just losing the game, and there was too many Leeds players getting forward, and you just felt as if they needed to bring someone on to add a bit of steel in the middle of the park. I think they've got to do that because Leeds certainly have created more chances in the second half than they did in the first half.
So presumably, are they going to play with one up, or are they going to push Whittingham forward now alongside Booth? Humphreys is the man that's gone off.
I think they're obviously trying to stabilise. Hyde's a good little worker, good little tackler, and can pull people about. I think they need to win the ball more in the middle of the park because Leeds, when they changed to their 4, started winning more of the ball. I think that they will play with a one up, but I would think Whittingham will try and support as often as he can.
Here's Andy Booth for Wednesday. Collins and Booth are both tackled at the same time by Ian Hart so firmly that they both fall over, and Ian Hart emerges from the tackle virtually unscathed. Ball's out of play on this near side. Howard Wilkinson looks pensively on from beneath the clear perspex at the back of the dugout just down below us. When does he not look pensive? What would it take to bring a smile to Howard Wilkinson's face? Well, not just an equaliser, but a goal subsequent to that as well. It's 1-0 to Wednesday, and it's Atherton surging down the right. Lee Sharp is backtracking and concedes yet another throw to Wednesday, close to this right-hand corner flag, which is hanging limply. There's no appreciable breeze. The electronic scoreboard to our right says Leeds United 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1. 12 minutes to go. Here's the throw. Booth rises at the near post. In goes Graham Hyde for his first touch. Firm header forward, one bounce through to Nigel Martin, and Leeds now cascade forward like a white flower shedding its petals. This is Andy Gray trying to twist and turn his way past Ian Nolan, but failing singularly so to do. And then Collins is caught in possession, and dangerously it's given away to Ian Rush. Rush tries to find sharp square to his left. Whittingham is ever alert, and Whittingham puts it out of play. David Pleat reckons that Whittingham is one of the most receptive footballers he's ever worked with.
Well, he's done very well. I think he's got a certain amount of ability, and he has really used it to the maximum. He has done and worked very hard down this right flank tonight, although he's got most of his joy playing through the middle. But at the moment, I think Sheffield Wednesday seem very content to get people behind the ball. They've obviously realised that Leeds are going to put a bit of pressure on them, and David Pleat's just trying to contain them at the moment.
Here's Palmer, turning the ball towards Rush. Out came Kevin Pressman and anticipated very well, and dived bravely at Rush's feet and saves the day again for Sheffield Wednesday, who need to survive for a further 11 minutes if they're to go top of the Premiership table. They'll be the only side so far to have won 2 out of 2. Now there's a penalty at Celtic Park. We haven't had a goal so far. Here's Roddy Forsyth. 81 minutes played, and I'm glad to tell you the penalty kick is to Celtic after the foul on Di Canio. We're waiting after a lot of protest by the Kasici players, but that penalty kick will be taken by Pierre Van Hooijdonk. Stay with us, because this is a critical moment in the game. Celtic have been living very dangerously. They just stepped up the pace a moment or two ago. The ball came back off the post. The referee spotted a foul on Di Canio. He has awarded the penalty kick, and now at last the penalty area is cleared. It is Pierre Van Hooijdonk versus Norbert Juraska in the Slovakian goal. They eyeball each other. Van Hooijdonk begins his run, and the goalkeeper saves it. Celtic have missed a penalty kick. The ball is played now over for a corner. Van Hooijdonk looked ever so casual as he went for that one. He played it across the keeper's body. The keeper was diving away from centre. But if you can remember the Seaman save from Gary McAllister, and who in Scotland and England can fail to remember that, then you have seen what happened here just a few moments ago. And so Celtic spurning a gift chance, although from the corner they're pressing again, and the ball played right back into the box. Celtic still have it. They're going to try to get this ball whipped in. There's a mass of players there. Up now goes John Hughes. It falls at the back to Di Canio. He shoots. Oh, and was that in the net? The keeper pulls it back off the line. There is something going on right at the post. We can't tell what. Is the referee giving a goal? The linesman is flagging. Now, is the linesman going to flag that Paolo Di Canio in his first game got the ball across the line? We cannot tell. The referee has not yet seen the linesman flagging on the far side of the field. And I can tell you right now, only Radio 5 Live have seen the linesman. The linesman is frantically flagging the referee, far side of the field. The referee is speaking to George Cadetti. He is going to boot George Cadetti, I think, perhaps for protesting too much, but still the linesman flags on the far side of the field, and now the rest of the stadium has seen it. This is a crucial moment, because it looked to me as though the ball may have crossed the line there from Di Canio. The linesman has at last attracted the referee's attention. Let's see what decision he's going to give here. The referee goes across the field to the linesman, and this could be very dramatic indeed, because Celtic, having just missed that penalty kick, the linesman was on the line. Did the ball cross the line? 47,000 people inside Celtic Park. Wait to hear what's happening, because the linesman and referee, or assistant referee, we must not call linesman, is discussing it with the referee. It's a long discussion. It's not clear what the referee is indicating. He is walking now back towards the penalty area, which tends to suggest to me he's not going to award a goal. And we still do not know what is going on here. The referee has already booked George Cadet. He's walking back across to one of the Czech players. He's going to book him, and that may be all Celtic are going to get. That's a red card against the Czech player, number 14, Karol Praxenetsa. So still we wait to see what he's going to do about this goal decision. Is it a goal? Is it a free kick? I beg your pardon, I've said again Czechs. It's Slovaks, of course, from the other half of the old Czechoslovak Republic. And the Slovaks are now down to 10 men, and still we wait to see what the referee is going to award here. Is it going to be a free kick? Is it going to be a goal? Celtic, let me just remind you, have missed a penalty kick. The referee is now walking towards the side again, away from his linesman. He does not, it appears to me, think that was a goal, but we still have confusion here. There is no clear decision given. He's going to permit a substitution, and when that substitution is over, we shall learn at last what his decision is. Although I would forecast now, because he has not yet pointed towards the centre circle, that Celtic will not be awarded a goal. And we are now 5 minutes by my watch from the end of normal time. Although if you can describe the events of the past minute or two as normal, then I would say we're in an exceptional phase of football commentary. If we hold on a second, the Celtic players and the Krasici players are asking for a ruling. And it seems to me, at last, the referee is going to tell us what's going on. He is. He's looking back. He indicates free kick Krasici. It's still Celtic 0, Krasici 0.
Brian, come back. We're on again. Come back. You can't go home.
That was exciting. What was going to happen there?
6 minutes to go here. We've had a little bit of action as well. We've seen Mark Hateley make way for Mark Tinkler, and we've seen a booking for Carlton Palmer for a nasty late lunge at Mark Pembridge, but still Leeds are pressing for this equaliser, which just refuses to come. Palmer to Andy Gray, wide on the far side. Gray puts it onto his left foot. In fact, it's Kelly that crosses, and then it's headed down by Ian Rush, but straight to Reggie Blinker. Now Wednesday could finish it with another goal. Just over 5 minutes to go. Blinker over halfway, has Booth calling for it to his left. Oh, the pass was awful. It was overhit. It was delivered at the wrong moment. Booth had strayed offside. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. I should also tell you that Barry Town have gone into extra time with Budapest for shooters. 4-all the aggregate score. Aberdeen are through. They've won 5-4 on aggregate against Žalgiris Vilnius of Lithuania, despite losing 3-1 at Pitoča this evening. Bolton still a goal up in the first division on Manchester City. And here's a Leeds cross from deep that's headed down and away by Stefanovic, but it's picked up by Richard Jobson, who left-footed essays it forward onto the head of Palmer. Palmer's header was aimed for Rush. It was nowhere near him. It's behind, and Leeds are 5 minutes away from starting their home season with a defeat. And their recent record, Brian, is miserable. 2 wins in their last 17 league games.
Well, it's the start of a new season, new players, and I would imagine everybody will get a chance to have a look at the team, see how they settle in. Certainly first sighting doesn't appear to be that great. They didn't play so well in the first half. They have improved the second half. I think Sheffield Wednesday have gone a little bit disappointing, and they certainly look at the moment looking just to take the 3 points, and they're playing as many players as they can behind the ball and just trying to contain.
Of course, there's no Yeboah, and there won't be for 2 months. He's had a knee operation. There's no Brian Dean. He's out for 3 weeks with a groin injury. And Tony Dorigo is also out, a long-term absentee. So 5 minutes to go, 1-0 to Wednesday. Now we have a goal at Parkhead after all the shenanigans a moment ago. Here's Roddy Forsyth.
And it's a goal to Celtic. Celtic have scored in what I make to be the final minute of normal time. Andreas Tom making good ground in the left, put through by Tosh McKinley, got to the byline, got the ball over. It took a little ricochet. In at the back post came Georges Cadete, and he rammed the ball across the line. And that, with any luck at all, will see Celtic safely into the first round proper of the UEFA Cup. Celtic 1, FC Krasici 0.
Excellent news. Aberdeen through as well narrowly. Barry Town into extra time, and another substitution about to be made by Wednesday once play comes to a halt. Down below us, it's the vastly experienced figure of Steve Nicol, who's being talked to by David Pleat in a capacious blue T-shirt. Looks like a relic of his American holiday during the summer. And Steve Nicol will shortly join the fray. It'll waste a few more valuable seconds as well, but Wednesday defend. Rush to Bowyer with a shooting chance. He's pulled it wide. Pulled it badly wide in the end. That was a clear-cut opening for Leeds to find the equaliser, which still won't come.
No, it doesn't look as if it's going to be their night. They've created more chances in the second half. They've been unfortunate with the woodwork. I think Steve Nichol's going to come on and just add a bit of resolution to the Sheffield Wednesday cause at the moment. They're looking a little bit tired. They're looking as if they've been tested. And at this moment in time, he should come on, old head, be able to put his foot in the ball and certainly talk people about, because Leeds certainly have most of the play. They're creating the chances, and Sheffield Wednesday are defending.
It's his job now to stop his erstwhile teammate Ian Rush from scoring his first goal for Leeds. So Nicol goes into that position covering the back five or the back three, whichever way you want to look at it. which is his favourite position at this advanced stage of his career. He's now 34. And we have 2.5 minutes remaining. Leeds 0, Wednesday 1. The boos will be, well, self-evident if Leeds don't find that equalising goal. Even a draw won't be considered to be satisfactory. That's a nasty tackle by Pembridge on Bowyer, who in truth has made a meal of it. They always say you can tell when a player isn't that badly injured when he rolls over 4 times. But now he is still on the ground. But Pembridge followed through there, and he's going to be booked.
Those two have been having a little bit of a tussle, and it's been happening most of the second half. I think the referee maybe should have stepped in about 15 minutes ago. There was a little tussle, and he could have stopped it very early on, and I think that's a carryover. Certainly on this occasion, it didn't look like such a bad tackle, but Pembridge definitely caught Bowyer, and the referee has taken Pembridge's name.
More importantly, in the context of this game, which has 90 seconds of normal time to run, it's a free kick to Leeds, trailing 1-0. It's 40 yards from goal. It's pretty well dead centre of this mottled field in front of us. And Lee Bowyer, not at all surprisingly, is back on his feet and looking reasonably sprightly. Now, surely they're not going to try a shot from this sort of distance, are they? They're a long way out. And Ian Hart has the chance to really make a name for himself. He is going to try a shot. He tries it. It's rising all the way. And it would have smacked Kevin Pressman right between the eyes had he not caught it.
Great strike. Confident boy. It's a long way out, as you say. And I would imagine if I was a Sheffield Wednesday player, that's what I would have wanted him to do, was to shoot from there. And but he struck it very well, but I could never see the ball get in from that distance.
Leeds have spent nearly 10 million in the close season. Sheffield Wednesday, through David Pleat's earnest dealings, have actually recouped more money for the likes of De Greiser and Woods and Kovacevic than they've spent even on Andy Booth and company. Now, this could be a chance inside the penalty area. There's the equalising goal. It's been scored, has it? No. The referee has ruled it out, and Leeds are furious. It was Mark Tinkler that ran through and guided the ball beyond the prone figure of Pressman. The linesman's flag didn't go up, but the referee spotted an infringement. I think he's saying that Ian Rush was backing into a defender and holding him off.
Well, he was very quick to give the decision, and the Sheffield Wednesday players stopped. I think the Leeds players went on just with the adrenaline pumping on. The player was in. The crowd thought that there was a goal, and they're very disappointed. David Pleat very relieved. Howard Wilkinson very disappointed.
Well, there's a talking point for afterwards. Oh, there's a nasty tackle as well. And that was stupid by Andrew Booth, who followed through on Nigel Martin. And Martin was sent tumbling by the corner flag. Bolton 1, Manchester City 0 as a full-time score in the First Division from Burnden Park. Now Booth is getting to his feet. He's been lectured by the referee. Leeds are desperate not for retribution on Booth, who's still wiping something from his face in the far corner, but just to get on with the game.